Hey folks, Coach Mike here. This video is about transformation. What happens when you pursue a whole food, plant-based diet in your world with different chronic diseases? I'm excited to share with you some testimony. Let's get started. Hey folks, Coach Mike here. I've got a video coming up 30 minutes long that's got 11 transformation stories. Incredibly powerful. I'm not sure if I was supposed to do this or not, but I took every transformation in the movie Eating You Alive and I put them back to back. In the movie, which is an amazing documentary about how people transform their lives through whole food plant-based eating, it's an hour and 45 minutes. What I have here is the before and after, and I indicate that on the video as well for each of the 11 people that are on this video. So I put them back to back, and it shows the power of what eating a whole food plant-based diet can do for you, and it shows what it did for these individuals. And I'm just going to list off, I've made a list of the actual transformation changes that these individuals had, and they are obesity, heartburn, low energy to high energy, psoriasis, autoimmune disorders such as lupus, reversing heart disease, reversing diabetes, elevated cholesterol was reversed, people got off of medications, cancer for some individuals actually got better, rheumatoid arthritis got better, and erectile dysfunction. So those are just some of the examples of what can happen when somebody pursues a whole food plant-based diet. I just think the whole thing, an hour and 45 minutes is well worth the watch, but I want to make it as simplistic as possible for you. So I hope you enjoy this, and I got a few words to say at the very end.
I was just kind of your typical kid. I was on the yearbook. I played volleyball. So we really had no idea that anything was coming or that anything was wrong. When I was 16 years old, I was told that I had 6 months to live. So the first clue that something was actually wrong was one weekend I had gone to the Jersey Shore with my friends. But I remember we went to a diner and I had these pancakes and I could not get the pancakes in my mouth. It hurt so bad. And the next morning I woke up and this excruciating pain that felt like it would take weeks to heal was gone. But the strange thing was that same exact identical pain was in my left shoulder. And after a couple of days, it disappeared from that arm too. Not long after that, migraine started. I had this huge rash across my face, going from one cheek across my nose to the other side. My blood test showed that my kidneys were in trouble, so they sent me in for a kidney biopsy. So next thing I know, I'm going into surgery. So it was just so chaotic. And the doctor told us what happened, and they said, you're in stage 4 kidney failure. And you've got 6 months if we don't do something really, really aggressive. 6 months you'll be in dialysis or you'll be dead. So I was put on high-dose steroids. It was about 7 different pills I had to take every day. And I also was put on experimental chemotherapy to try to save my kidneys. I was told I couldn't have kids. I was told I probably wouldn't live past my 50s. I'd probably be handicapped by my 30s. Well, with lupus, your immune system's attacking your own body. And so my immune system had suddenly stopped recognizing my kidneys as my own and were attacking my kidneys, trying to kill it. I'd also developed blood clots that had happened when I was in medical school. And so I was taking blood thinners because I'd experienced a mini stroke, a transient ischemic attack. And thankfully, I didn't damage my brain, but I was in a lot of danger of dying at that point if I didn't use this blood thinner for the rest of my life. Otherwise, I was trucking through. I was 2 months away from graduating medical school. And then I met this most amazing person, Thomas Tadlock, and he just changed everything for me. And I went from only dreaming about a white coat to dreaming about a white dress. And the hardest thing I ever had to do was to tell him about my illness. And the fact that marrying me was, not going to be long term. And it was hard for him to hear. But he just said that he'd rather have a short life with me than a lifetime with someone else. So he would take care of me. At the time, my husband was working for MTV, and he was helping recording artists get really fit for videos, And I said, I want to look like one of them. It was purely vanity. We're gonna go to Maui, we're gonna get married, and I want to look as good as I feel emotionally. And I want to do it in a healthy way. And that's what he did. It wasn't about starvation. It wasn't about hurting your body. It was about learning how to take care of your body, learning how to nourish my body in a way that would cause me to have a fast metabolism. And most people think about fuel in terms of these big building blocks like protein and carbohydrates and fat, but that's not what it's about. It's about vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients and enzymes and things that your cells actually need. I had to eat so much food, more than I'd ever eaten before, and drink all this water and do all this, eat more than I ever had before. And he told me that was gonna make me actually lose weight. So even though I was skeptical, I did it. And in the 4 months, not only did I go from a size 10 to a size 3, but I was really fit, and I'd felt the best I'd ever felt in my entire life. I had no more aches and pains. My joints felt great. I was energetic. When it was time to get my blood tests and everything, I didn't really think it was gonna affect them because that wasn't possible. I just, I thought this was just something that improved how I felt. And so I told my husband, well, whatever this is that you did, I'm gonna eat this way from now on because I feel so good. When I got my next round of blood tests a few months later, all the lupus indicators were negative. The doctor had a medical student with him, and he said, this woman alleges to have lupus, but we're not finding any evidence of it. Maybe there's just an error in the test. Go have your wedding, come back, and we'll test again. And we tested again a few months later, and now even the antibodies for the clots were completely negative. And my blood pressure was coming down to that of an athlete. And my genetically high cholesterol that I was told I could do nothing but blame my parents, that's what my doctor had told me as a kid, that was completely normal and in fact optimal. And that's what's happened ever since then. And right now I'm sitting here and it's been 10 years since that first negative blood test, and there's been no sign of lupus coming back, in spite of me continuing to go on and not only expose myself to those things they said I shouldn't, like going out in the sunshine, but also having 2 children. I have continued to actually get healthier and stronger as the years have gone by.
I want to enjoy my kids, enjoy my grandkids. I cannot imagine missing one thing. Going into this massive change, of course, I'd love to lose weight, but more importantly, I just want to be healthy.
And they say, doctor, I've tried everything. I'm miserable. I'll go, well, have you tried eating something different? Or tell me what you've done with your nutrition.
I'm changing what I put in my body, but that's what I've known for 36 years, so it's very scary.
Up until recently, we didn't really think of nutrition as being a very strong force. Eat a little bit less carbs and nothing much happens, or you count calories for a few weeks and you lose a few pounds and then you gain it all back. And I think people have gotten used to the idea that food doesn't make much difference.
My family surrounds celebrations, sad things, bad things. Everything revolves around food.
You know, you go to a funeral, and after the funeral, people get together, they eat, and they eat the same kind of things that help put the person in the casket in the first place. So it's really part of who we are.
The thought of giving up sugar, not being able to eat my waffle with syrup and a side of bacon, that just makes my stomach turn. It's that nervous feeling of like when you are starting a new job or you're going from elementary school to middle school. That's how I feel about changing my food. I want to feel better. Looking back at where I was just 11 months ago, I don't even recognize that person. I could not imagine the drastic changes that we've seen in less than a year. Not only the physical changes of the weight loss, but coming off medication, I feel good on the inside. I don't hurt anymore. My knees don't hurt. I feel better now than I did when I was in high school. Making this lifestyle change to a whole food, plant-based way of eating is the absolute best decision I've ever made in my life.
I was morbidly obese my entire adult life. Being obese sucks. You know that people are looking at you. You can only imagine what they're thinking about you, even though they're too polite. I was eating what most Americans consider to be a healthy diet with lean protein, so I was pretty much down to chicken and salmon as my protein. But we were cooking those proteins in butter and olive oil, and obviously it was not working. I had tried every fad diet that there was, low carb, South Beach, Atkins, Weight Watchers, to try to lose weight, and I discovered what a lot of people have, which is as long as you're doing these diets, they work great. Problem is, when you stop dieting, all the weight comes back, and often more than you were in the first place. With nothing to lose, we decided to just try it out and see how things went. And so we decided to do it for a month, and the pounds just started to fall away. I think I lost 14 pounds that first month. So over the course of the next 18 months, I proceeded to lose half of my body weight for a total of about 130 pounds. It's never too late to feel young, to lose weight, to feel energetic, to enjoy your family, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and be able to help heal yourself with food.
When you're young, you think you're invincible. You don't think what you're going to eat is going to really hit you down the road. Really didn't start thinking about it much until my dad had a heart attack and then had quadruple bypass. And then, you know, you start thinking, well, uh-oh, you know, he's got a problem, so.
So today we're going to see Andre with high cholesterol. His cholesterol report shows that his total cholesterol is 189 on medication. With a whole food plant-based diet, we can take that cholesterol level below 150 without medication. And that's going to be one of our goals.
I'm controlling my cholesterol now and my triglycerides with medication, but a lot of the research I've done on the medications I'm on is not very positive, and they have side effects, and I've suffered some of the side effects. If I'm going to be on this for a long time, is there a better way? If I can do it through a dietary means, which would allow me to get off of these drugs completely, that would be the optimal goal. For me to change anything, I'm going to have that proof to where through this diet, it will put my triglycerides in a safe range, my cholesterol in a safe range, and hopefully the cholesterol ratios, good to bad, within an acceptable range. I'm open-minded to see what happens, give it a shot, see if it works. I mean, what do you have to lose?
Hi, good morning.
Hey, Doc.
Good to see you. Welcome back. Hi, how are you, Yvonne?
Good.
When I first heard about this, I thought it was a bunch of malarkey, you know? And then a challenge was made, you know, try it. What does it hurt? So I tried it.
Without medication, your cholesterol was 300 range.
Yes, previously.
Okay. And now, without medications and making some changes in your diet, your cholesterol is 171.
Really?
Yeah. So it's almost half of what it was before on no medication. Your triglycerides have dropped another 20 points. Both your cholesterol and your triglycerides are safely in the normal range.
Sweet.
On no medication.
That is proof to me. You can't lie in the numbers, and you can't lie with shedding the weight. And I felt great. So we kept on going with it, and it's working. I was told and I was convinced by my doctor, you're going to be on this for the rest of your life because you're just genetically predisposed to be this way. And it took this to prove to me that's not true. I'm eating plant-based, whole foods, and my cholesterol is no longer an issue. I feel as good as I did when I was 20.
If you had told me the stuff I know now affects my health, I would have thought you were crazy. I was 57. I thought I was too young to have a stroke. When Pam and I got married, I weighed 140. As I got older, that increased about, 10 pounds a year or so. When I had my stroke, I was at 240, almost 250.
He didn't know how to do anything. He didn't know me as his wife.
According to my wife, I had the mentality of about a 3-year-old.
Even to go to take a shower or a bath, he wasn't sure what to do. He'd just go in there and he'd stand.
When I had my stroke, they diagnosed that I had diabetes, and I was untreated for approximately 10 years. Pretty soon the doctor sat me down. He tore off my chart after my stress test was going on, and he says, "Do you see anything wrong with that?" And he handed it to the doctor.
When that was done, they came out and said, "We need to do immediate surgery."
I was pretty high risk because I'd had a stroke. And the way I looked at it, if I didn't have the surgery, I was going to die anyhow.
He came through the heart surgery. He did good. But he still never got any better.
I had a stroke. I had to live with that. I was diabetic, I had to live with that. And I had a basket of pills, I had to live with that. After about 2 weeks, the things I noticed was I had a lot more energy. I could walk a lot further and I could walk a lot faster. I dropped a bunch of weight. My cholesterol dropped like a rock. Everything seemed to come back into line.
He now rides a bike. I mean, we go for long bike rides.
When I got out of the hospital, I don't know how many medications I had, and I'm off all that now.
He walks miles and is giving Greg back to me.
There's all kinds of diets, but this is a way of life.
Most wives take for granted what a gift a husband is and be able to do those things with their husband. And I'm telling you, I am so thankful.
The doctor called me at home, and he says, hey, I just got your blood work back from the lab, and I was reviewing your results, and you're no longer diabetic. It's really good. Sorry.
My blood sugar was 441. I had 5 blockages. 2 of them were 100%, 2 was 80, and 1 was 70%. I was on 13 pills a day and 2 shots. I had 7 stents in my original right coronary artery. They just kind of dismissed that it was anything to do with food, that it was more family genetics, that I had a double whammy because I was diabetic. 2 weeks after starting the whole food plant-based diet, with no oil, my angina had all of a sudden stopped. By the time I went back to my internist, my hemoglobin A1C was coming down, so they took me off the shots. They took me off of the Starlix pills. Within a couple months later, I went off the metformin. The doctor said, I don't think you're diabetic. I don't have any arthritis anymore. I'm enjoying life. I love the food that I'm eating. I would say the bottom line to all my health issues is you don't have to suffer with heart disease and diabetes because it's foodborne illnesses. And if food is what got you into this mess, food can get you out of it.
As a youngster, my uncle family had a lot of health issues. And as a kid, I remember my 2 favorite uncles having to have bypass surgery. And these were people who I loved, and they were never the same after the surgery. And then one day, I started waking up with the most severe pains in the morning. I just knew something was really bad, but I kept thinking, maybe it'll just go away. You know, I just wanted to believe anything, but oh my goodness, I've got some heart issues. I went to the Cleveland Clinic. I had 100% on my right artery blocked, and 2 at 65%. I had a hardening of the right side of the artery. I also had left bundle block. I had an enlarged heart. I had leaky valves. I was a real mess.
Even though we tend to think of advances in medicine as being a new drug or a new laser or something really high-tech and expensive, in our studies over the last almost 40 years now, we've used these very high-tech, expensive, state-of-the-art scientific measures to prove how powerful these very simple and low-tech and low-cost interventions can be. And we found for the first time that not only can you help prevent disease, but you can actually reverse it in most cases.
What Ornish showed, 1990, in the most prestigious medical journal in the world, he could measure and show that the arteries were opening up without drugs, without surgery, just, plant-based diet and other healthy lifestyle changes. After that publication, no one else should have died of heart disease. We had the cure, we've had it for decades, yet hundreds of thousands of people continue to die from this preventable, treatable, reversible disease.
Here I am, I'm just out of recovery from the heart catheter, and he looks at me, he says, you know, I think I'd like you to meet Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. He was my mentor at medical school. Sure enough, the next morning he gave me a call. He said, I want you to read this book, Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, and call me back.
There is hard science out there that you can halt and reverse this disease with nutrition. There's a common feeling that, oh, well, patients won't do that. Well, nothing is further from the truth.
I read it, and within a few days I called him back, and I said, I'm in. I'll do whatever you want me to do.
When folks are willing to change their, 50, 60, 70-year-old worth of habits, it's amazing watching Cure for the first time in my career.
I really believe that diet is the primary way that we need to change things.
I've been now plant-based for almost 3 years. What it's done is, at that time, my cholesterol was 310. Today it's at 143. Plant-based nutrition has allowed me to have more energy than I've ever felt in my life.
You know, Oklahoma is #2 in the nation for death from cardiovascular disease. And it's because of the way we eat. There's no question about it.
About 6 years ago, I woke up with left arm pain. I went to my cardiologist. My cholesterol was 494. My triglycerides were over 3,200. I had a stress test. It was abnormal. I had a 85% blockage of my left anterior descending, an 80% a little further downstream, and a 70% of my right main coronary. And he said that it was too big to stent, so he recommended I have a triple bypass.
It was like a slap in the face because it just never crossed my mind that that would happen. So many of our friends had this happen, and they went in and they had the stents and they were fine, and that was what we were gonna do, So it was a real wake-up call.
One of my partners recommended that I read the China study. I had read that the Saturday before the arteriogram, and in that book is mentioned Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease by Dr. Esselstyn. And so I found that book, read it literally that day, called my cardiologist and said, I think I want to try diet before I have bypass. And it literally scared him to death. What I thought I knew about healthy eating almost killed me. One moment, I was eating meat with every meal. The next moment, whole food, plant-based, a very drastic change overnight. Within 6 months, my cholesterol was down to 115. My LDL was 15, which was as low as they could measure. My triglycerides had fallen to 175. The last time I had my cholesterol checked, it was 96, and my triglycerides were 97. And there's not a drug on the planet that can do that. That is solely through diet. And I'm just utterly amazed that the human body has the ability to heal itself so quickly. I abused my body for 53 years. I'm currently 59, and I feel better now than I felt when I was 35.
Genetics is not our destiny. Our genes can be directly affected by the food we eat.
We know that you can reverse heart disease with a plant-based diet. We know this. You cannot do it with medication, but you can do it with plant-based diet. And when they ask doctors, why don't you teach people this? They say they don't think people are going to want to do it. It's too difficult. Well, let them be the judge of that. I think it's too difficult to go under the knife and have my chest cracked open, but give people the chance, the opportunity.
In 1999, I had that wake-up call. I was diagnosed with both breast and cervical cancer. So the doctor said, you've got to have a mastectomy next week. You got to have a hysterectomy immediately. You got to have chemo. You got to have radiation. And I was like a deer in headlights, and I was like, there's no way. My mom and aunts had had breast, cervical, uterine, or ovarian cancer. They did the surgery, the mastectomies and the hysterectomies. They did the chemo, they did the radiation, and I really saw what that did. I saw that not only did it not heal, but it made the situation worse. And I was convinced that many of the people that I loved the most in the world had actually died not as a result of being diagnosed with cancer, but as a result of all of those treatments. I'm not gonna do surgery, chemo, or radiation. He said to me, what do you mean, no? You don't have a choice. He said, you'll be dead in 6 months. I said, well, I'll tell you what. If I'm not dead in 6 months, I'll come back to see you. My friends and family didn't believe me. They didn't approve. My doctor didn't like it. But when that 6-month mark came, I made that phone call. I want an appointment. When they ran all the tests, and I was completely cancer-free, some of the things that I found from those tests he ran, not only did I not have cancer, but rheumatoid arthritis that I was diagnosed at the age of 27 with, that the doctors had told me then, you could be crippled by this. You could end up in a wheelchair. You're going to have to take drugs for pain management on this. It was gone. I had always had these problems with eczema, psoriasis. My skin looked better than ever. And from a little girl, I was diagnosed with all kinds of allergies. For the first time in my life that I could remember, I had no allergy. Like, this is really something. I realized that this lifestyle had healed my body completely from the inside out.
All of the doctors were pretty clear that they felt that I probably wouldn't live longer than a few months because I had cancerous fluid that had metastasized from my ovaries all the way up to the pleural cavity on my right lung. I went to see Dr. Joel Furman, who, to my good fortune, was my primary care physician. And he examined me and we talked, and I just decided, well, it's not going to hurt to ask another person, you know, if there's a chance that I'm going to get through this. And I said, do you think I'm going to survive this? And he said, yes, I do. And I said, that's wonderful, because you're the only one who has said that. I'm Pamela Swallow. I just turned 70 this summer, but I've been 18 years cancer-free. I was diagnosed in 1997 with metastatic stage 4 ovarian cancer. My prognosis was horrible, but not everybody's right all the time, and I was determined to live, and I have. And so could you.
You don't have to be sick. You don't have to wait in line for a terminal illness. There's something you can do about it, and the time to start is now.
The motivating factor for me to adopt a whole food plant-based diet was I didn't want to die. My wife had adopted whole food plant-based ideology for at least 2 to 3 years.
And I did it really purely as for health. I had dragged the family along fairly successfully. My husband was good when he was at home and I was cooking for him.
We hear the term always committing to something 100%. And I think for me, adopting a whole food plant-based diet, I wasn't fully committed.
He was diagnosed in November of 2013 with kidney cancer. Turned out to be stage 4 cancer. I think at that moment, I never had to nag at him again. I never had to convince him. He was completely on board.
We were told that given what it was and the type of cancer, renal cell carcinoma, and a fairly aggressive one as to what they were seeing on the tests taken, that would probably be a matter of months that I had to live.
He went through a major surgery to have the kidney removed and many of the lymph nodes around it. And, you know, they were pretty brutal, and they said that, you know, that he might not even survive the surgery because it had gone up his vena cava and they had to clamp that off and he could bleed out. And so that was devastating in itself.
And they explained that chemotherapy and radiation was not effective in controlling or healing or working with renal cell carcinoma. And they said there was current research being done with respect to immune therapy drugs.
He recovered really well from the surgery rather quickly. He was accepted into a trial study, and it was an immune boosting therapy, and we went down to Vancouver for that. And after the 3rd treatment, it attacked his liver.
So they explained to us that this liver attack, the side effect from the drugs, and the rates that my liver was battling right now could be a fatal episode.
So he was dismissed from the study because it doesn't look good to kill your trial patients, so they basically sent us home to recover from that. So I continued on with our whole food plant-based diet, and he just got better and better. And with each scan, things were reducing, lymph nodes were shrinking in size. And initially, they had said it would be naive to think that this would not spread. And it didn't spread, and it reduced. And it kept reducing to the point where it was radiologically undetectable.
At this 2-year period where you're told, plain and simple, that you're probably going to die if you make that outset date. You're probably going to get sicker and sicker. And I didn't. And I got healthier and healthier and healthier.
And at 2 years, when he should have died, according to them, he went back to work, full time.
I've never been this healthy in my whole life. And I'm carrying on. What has brought me here this far, this healthy and the way I am, has been adopting whole food plant-based. There's no two ways about it.
And everything that I was ever taught, everything I'd ever read, basically was telling me, hey, Hispanics have a high percentage of diabetes. I was also led to believe it's in your genes, it's just part of who you are. I was a fast food junkie. My body was telling me, you need that sugar, you need that fat, you need that salt. And so I was going through the drive-thru all the time. My family has been devastated by chronic disease. My mother was diabetic. She had a kidney transplant. She was legally blind. Many, many years of dialysis, many, many years of shots, injections, and pills, and ultimately passed away at the young age of 61 years old. My oldest brother, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He passed in 2002. My twin brother, Joe, he's been diabetic over a decade, and just about 4 months ago, he had a heart attack. And then the youngest brother is Martin. He was diagnosed with diabetes at a young age, in his early teens, 13 or 14 years old. He has had his right leg amputated. He has had a kidney and pancreas transplant. He's legally blind. He does dialysis 3 times a week, and he takes 25 medications every single day. And I was headed down that same path at the age of 43, taking 2 insulin shots, 2 oral medications for diabetes, a high blood pressure medication, as well as a high cholesterol medication. I even asked my doctor, I said, will I ever get off this insulin? And he flat out told me, no, you're gonna be on insulin the rest of your life. I was very upset. I was actually quite pissed off because I'd seen what this had done to my family, and now here I was. We adopted this lifestyle on December 3rd of 2011. Within days, 3 to 4 days, I start to see my sugars plummet, and I'm seeing my weight drop anywhere between 5 to 7 pounds per week. My psoriasis went away. My heartburn, I've not had heartburn since I adopted this lifestyle. And I'm Mexican, I love spicy food. I eat jalapenos and spices, Indian food. And lo and behold, by the end of January 2012, so not quite 60 days later, I was off all 5 of my medications. 4 to 5 months in, my erectile dysfunction went away. So here we are 3.5 going on 4 years later. My health continues to be normal. My A1C levels, my cholesterol levels, my blood pressures. I'm healthier than I was even 20 years ago. So when my wife and I adopted a whole foods plant-based lifestyle, we basically changed the trajectory of my family's future.
My story starts a long time ago with a lot of issues with overeating, and it escalated many, many times up and down, a lot of yo-yo dieting. Finally, at 380 pounds and diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and hypertension on medication, I decided to make a commitment to a completely different lifestyle of eating. I was in my 49th year, and it occurred to me I wasn't going to see 50. It was a lot of sitting on the couch, watching a lot of television and eating. And everyone didn't always see the eating because I did that after they left for school or before, in the car. There was a lot of secretive eating going on.
You want to believe that there is no addiction, that this is a metabolic thing and that, this can be fixed. But, when you start to find that, the trappings of wrappers and...
I knew. I mean, I knew what was happening. I knew about all the things that they didn't know about.
You say to yourself, okay, at this time, maybe I'm 40-something years old and, okay, I'm going to have all these kids, going to have to do something, going to have to take care of them if she's not around.
Every day, I thought that they were going to find me dead in the parking lot because I was out of breath just walking from my car to my office every day.
There were a lot of things that I didn't know, I didn't understand. I'm like, oh, if I could just do the math on this, it'll be better, but there is no math to this.
I couldn't do many things, and I didn't do many things because of the shame and embarrassment. I didn't want to embarrass my kids.
People make fun of them, but they don't exist, And they do exist.
So I started, and I started very seriously. I started every meal, 3 meals a day, which consisted mainly of fruits and vegetables, some nuts and seeds, and it worked. And in about 6 months, I lost 120 pounds. And then over the course of maybe another 6 months I lost another 100 pounds, so I lost 220 pounds. The diabetes went away within weeks, and the hypertension also went away. I started to feel great.
She's got so much energy today, I can't really keep up with it, to be honest with you.
Recently, I was lucky enough to have an echo done by my coworkers, and she was overwhelmed by what she saw on my echocardiogram. There were no blockages, there's no plaque. The elasticity in my heart is excellent. And she said, we don't really see hearts like this. The number one thing that she said was, Susan, I'm convinced. I see what you eat every day, but this, for me, as a echocardiogram sonographer, this is what sells me. I have reversed disease. The damage that hypertension does to your heart and type 2 diabetes, it was reversed in the last 5 years.
So I hope you enjoyed the testimonies. I love that there were so many people that were in this that were very real and authentic, very skeptical in the beginning when they started pursuing this diet and lifestyle. So it shows me the authenticity of the video. And then of course the outcomes that came up were phenomenal as well. So if something you're interested in is pursuing a whole food plant-based diet and you're not sure where to start, you're not sure how to start it, you feel like you need some support, please reach out to me. I've got some information in the description of this video where you can click on the link and set up a free 30-minute, no obligation. All I really want to do is talk to you about helping you and supporting you. And if we just talk for 30 minutes and we don't talk after that, that's fine as well. All I really want to do is help and support individuals. Feel free to reach out to me in the link below. And of course, the link to the video Eating You Alive is also there. That's it for now. I hope you liked the video. I hope it was worthwhile over your time because it was 35 minutes. If you liked it, feel free to give it a like. Even share if you feel like somebody can use the support of this information. That's it for now. God bless.